Okay, it is Monday night, the 1st of January of 2024. I've already done 2 previous sessions. One was redundant. The next advanced the schedule for the NGC series from 600 to 650. And because the battery's holding up pretty good on the Handycam tonight, and I'm having a really good dark sky, I thought I would do a trifecta and see if we can't squeeze in the NGC, I think it's going to be the 700 to 750 series. See, no wonder I get screwed up. Anyway, this is NGC 891, that beautiful edge-on presented galaxy on the border of Andromeda and Perseus. We are going to move forward with the NGC 700 to 749 series in tow. NGC 700 is a galaxy in Andromeda, magnitude 14.4, 8.8 by 0.7 arc-minute size, parent size lenticular spiral class O, 218 billion light years distant. It's at plus 36 degrees, and yes, the right ascension is 152.16. That seems to be about right. However, we may have skipped a series, but I don't care. I will put them in order as they are released, if indeed I have skipped 650 to 700, which I think I just did. Why, dotage. Oh, this could be a special galaxy. NGC 701, galaxy in Cetus, magnitude 12.2. Oblately presented 2.6 by 1.4 arc-minute spiral with a bar 81 million light years distance. We're at minus 10 degrees. And that is a very nice look, with hints of texture. How about that? NGC 702 is another galaxy in Cetus, magnitude 13.1, 1.5 by 1 arc-minute spiral with a bar. Wow, this has got complexity. A lower B, C, and a P. 471.4 million light years distant. Puts this at about 200,000 light years in diameter. We're at minus 4 and change degrees, 1 hour 51 minutes and 19 seconds in right ascension. We've headed on north to NGC 703, a galaxy in Andromeda, magnitude 13.3, 1.2 by 0.9 arc minutes, lenticular spiral, 227 billion light years distant. We're at about plus 36 degrees and change in declination. There seems to be a number of galaxies in that field. And I was right, there is another galaxy, NGC 704, and Andromeda as well, magnitude 14, smallish, 0.6 by 0.4 arc-minute, spiral with peculiarities, 213 million light years distant, plus 36 and change in terms of declination. Let's see if there's another one. NGC 705 is another galaxy in that group, Andromeda, magnitude 13.6, far more distended, 1.2 by 0.3 arc-minutes, which is a 4-to-1 aspect ratio. Spiral with a lowercase a, 206 million light years distant, plus 36 and change degrees. And because I did not encounter a galaxy group like this in the last series, I know that this is an original series of the NGC Night Sky Study sequence that I'm pursuing at this time, which makes me feel a little more positive about the rest of this project, despite the fact that it's about 22 degrees in temperature out. Okay, I do want to point out that it's about 8:30 in the evening, that I am looking to the west because most everything is sidereally progressed, which is my big concern for this cycle of observations, that I make sure I can continuously graph the NGC series. This is NGC 706, a galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 12.5, about the right size for that magnitude, 1.9 by 1.5 arc-minute, spiral with a lowercase c, 223 million light years distant, puts it at about 125,000 light years in diameter. We're at plus 6 and change in terms of declination. NGC 707 is another galaxy in Cetus, magnitude 14, 1.3 by 0.9 arc-minute lenticular spiral, 243 million light years distance, about 90,000 light years in diameter. We're at minus 8.5 degrees in declination, and this one's giving quite an edgy-on presentation, despite the fact that it's 1.3 by 0.9 arc minutes inside. NGC700 is a galaxy in Andromeda, magnitude 12.7 and largish for that magnitude, 3 by 2.5 arc minutes. It is an elliptical of class 2, 215 million light years distant. This one is larger than the Andromeda galaxy, and as an elliptical, it must be very massive and is quite luminous at magnitude 12.7. We are at 36 degrees and change in declination. The view is quite good. It is obviously another member of that galaxy group that we picked out earlier. And if all of the same distance, that is the primary galaxy in the group that is at the bottom of the gravity well for that system. Well, it's possible this galaxy group is a different one in Andromeda, because this is NGC709 and it was just a click away from 708. This galaxy's magnitude 14.3 is presenting obliquely with a perfect 2-to-1 ratio of 1 to 0.5 arc minutes, simply classified as a spiral, 158 million light years distant, probably about 65,000 light years in diameter. But it is further away from the group, and that may very well be the same group that we saw earlier. I'll have to do some research on that, and if I don't, well, maybe you will. NGC710 is also potentially a member of that group. Just a click away, it's a galaxy in Andromeda, magnitude 13.7, almost face-on, 1.3 by 1.2 arc minute spiral with a lowercase c, 276 million light years distant, puts it at about 90,000 light years in diameter. We are at plus 36 and change in declination again. Group now seems to be up here, whereas it shifted over there, so there could have been some issues with how Dreyer compiled the catalog. NGC711 is conveniently located in Aries. Magnitude 13.1, 1.6 by 0.7 arc minute lenticular spiral, class O, 217 million light years distance, probably about 110 to 115,000 light years in diameter, pretty big for a lenticular. We're at plus 17.5 degrees, and we haven't reached hour 2 yet in terms of right ascension. NGC712 is another galaxy in Andromeda, magnitude 12.8, 1.3 by 1 arc minute lenticular spiral, 242 million light years distant. We're at plus almost 37 degrees in declination. Nice field of stars, and we just may be beginning to get some blockage of the objective lens by the roof rise of Penty. NGC713 is a galaxy in Cetus, magnitude 15, 1 by 0.3 arc minutes, so well aspected, spiral with a lowercase b, 231 million light years distant. I'd say this one's probably about 80,000 light years in diameter. We're at minus 9 and change degrees with a right ascension of 155.21. There's a brighter galaxy up towards the upper right of the screen. Back north, up into Andromeda for NGC714 galaxy, magnitude 13.1, well aspected at 1.5 by 0.4 arc minute spiral with a lowercase a, 204 million light years distant, puts it at about the size that I used to think the Milky Way was, about 100,000 light years in diameter. We are at plus 36 and change in declination, although I think we've regressed a little bit in right ascension. Very interesting. NGC715 is a galaxy in Cetus, magnitude 15, 2-to-1 ratio at 0.8 to 0.4 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase b, 249 million light years distant, about 80,000 light years in diameter. We're at minus almost 13 degrees in declination, and 153.12 in right ascension. It looks like there's some kind of cloud encroachment up there you can see in the right-hand side of the screen, but the galaxy is on the darker side, which is nice. Back up into Aries at plus almost 13 degrees for NGC716 galaxy, magnitude 12.9, 1.8 by 0.8 arc minute spiral with the bar, 207 million light years distant. That is giving kind of a barry sense to its core, and there seems to be a circular aura around it to my way of seeing. Okay, once again, we're getting a little partial blockage of the aperture for NGC717, a galaxy in Andromeda that's plus 36 degrees in declination. It's magnitude 13.9, but very edgy, 1.3 by 0.2 arc minutes, which gives it about a 6:1 aspect ratio. Spiral, lowercase a, 229 million light years distant. And you can see the edge-on appearance right there, perfectly on the screen. Sweet. NGC718 is another galaxy in Pisces, brightish, magnitude 11.7, largish, 2.3 by 2.2 arc minutes, spiral with a bar, lowercase a mere 77 million light years distant, puts it at about 60,000 light years in diameter. We're at plus 4 and change in terms of declination. You can see the bar of the galaxy with some aura around the outside. NGC719's galaxy back in Aries. We're at plus almost 20 degrees in declination. Magnitude 13.2, 1.4 by 1.1 arc minutes, 404 million light years distant. This is a lenticular spiral that's larger than Messier 31, so it's probably somewhere around 170,000 light years in diameter, meaning it's very large, very massive, and quite bright. Here we have a very luminous NGC 720 galaxy in Cetus. This galaxy is magnitude 10.2, largish, 4.4 by 2.2 arc minute, 2:1 aspect ratio, distended football elliptical. It's an E4, 81 million light years distant. And given that size, I would say this is about 120,000 light years in diameter, which is quite large for an elliptical galaxy. We're at minus 13, almost 14 degrees in declination, and we are getting a really luminous view of this 10th magnitude galaxy. Well, I was going to go to NGC 721 in Andromeda, but it was just simply too far north. Here we're being really seriously overpowered with what I would consider to be probably a second magnitude star, well, probably one of the brightest stars in Aries. This is NGC 722, which is a neighbor to that star, within about 5 or 6 arc minutes. It's magnitude 13.4, 1.7 by 0.5 arc minutes. You can see it's got a distended aspect ratio. Spiral with a lowercase bc, 222 million light years distant, means it's probably about 120,000 light years in diameter. We're at plus almost 21 degrees in declination. Wow. Here we're seeing NGC 723, which is also NGC 724. It's a galaxy in Cetus, magnitude 12.4, 1.5 by 1.3 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase bc, 64 million light years distant, so not particularly large, maybe about 35,000 light years in diameter. We're at minus 20, almost 24 degrees in declination. The galaxy is quite present in the center of the screen. Skipping NGC 724, which was also NGC 723, we're still in Cetus with a galaxy, magnitude 14.8 by 0.5 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase c. Very distant though, 468 million light years, puts it at about 130,000 light years in diameter. We're at minus 16.5 degrees in declination. We still have a ways to go to get to hour 2 and right ascension. I now have 2 bars left on the battery of the camera. NGC 726 is a galaxy in Cetus, magnitude 14, 2:1 aspect ratio, obliquely presented, 1.2 by 0.6 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase d, so that means probably some kind of disturbance in it. 239 million light years distant. We're at minus almost 11 degrees, 1 hour 55 minutes and 31 seconds. A couple of stars in Cetus. We've now arrived at NGC 731, and my camera battery likes the idea of reducing the number of studies this evening. NGC 731 is a galaxy in Cetus. It's also 757, brightish, magnitude 12.1, 1.7 by 1.7, pure elliptical. global elliptical, like a giant globular cluster, 174 million light years distant. Puts the size of this probably at something around 80,000 light years, which is quite large for an elliptical galaxy. We're at -9 degrees and 154.56 in right ascension. Okay, we're getting a little aperture block here at NGC 732. We're plus almost 37 degrees in declination for a galaxy in Andromeda. It's magnitude 13.5, 1.4 by 1 arc minutes spiral of the lenticular class, 266 million light years distant. This one is a little larger than our own Milky Way. It's probably about 110,000 light years across. So on to NGC 733 if it's accessible to us. NGC 733 is a galaxy in Triangulum. The only thing we know about it is it's a 2-to-1 aspect ratio of 0.6 to 0.3 arc minutes. It's at plus 33 and change in declination. I am not seeing anything in particular on the screen. I'll have to look to see if there's any data on this, but it may very well be anomalous, but a nice starry region nonetheless. Well, it's now almost just a little past 9 o'clock, and this is a 16th magnitude galaxy. I'm looking at the sky. It is very dark. If we're seeing a 16th magnitude galaxy in Cetus, NGC 734, 0.7 by 0.4 arc minutes, that's a spiral with a bar of lenticular class with a lowercase a, 537 million light years distant, and we're looking at -17 degrees in declination and seeing a 16th magnitude galaxy. With confidence on that screen, I will be blown away by just how much of an improvement we get in our viewing when the sky is particularly clear and dark. My battery's about to run out. Carpe Noctem. I will finish this series on the next opportunity out. Carpe Noctem. Amazingly, conditions have improved. It is Monday night, the 15th of January. I got out earlier tonight, but unfortunately the scope was out of focus. Conditions have improved. The moon is not showing nearly as much haze around it at this point, so we should have marginal seeing conditions. Jupiter has progressed well towards the west. I can still see some haze from in the sky above. However, I'm getting a good view of the belt and sword of Orion, and I haven't even dark adapted yet, so we should see some improvement in deep sky reach. Okay, the various steadings are definitely westering. It's 8 o'clock in the evening. I should be able to catch some of the rest of the NGC 700-749 series, starting off at NGC 725 because I've captured all the way through that. You can see we're starting to get decent views of stars. Now the scope's properly focused and the sky's a little clearer, although things are westering fast. We have to move through. We're going to start with NGC 725. I'm going to have to live unless I have a good night of seeing tomorrow night with the series, out of focus series in the 650 series that we finished up earlier in the evening. Okay, so we're talking about NGC 725. And NGC 725 is a galaxy in Cetus, magnitude 14.8 by 0.5 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase c. Distant, 468 million light years, probably about 100,000 light years in diameter. We're at -16.5 degrees. It is present on the field. I can live with that view. And just to get you centered up right there. Look in that location as we progress. This is pretty far south. That's not too bad of a view given the conditions. Keep in mind as we go through this series of NGC 700 through 725 and probably a little further along than that had already been captured about 2 weeks ago on the 1st of January. This is NGC 726, galaxy in Cetus, magnitude 14. oblately presented 1.2 by 0.6 arc-minute spiral with a lowercase d, 239 million light years distant. We're at almost minus 11 degrees. We're at right ascension 1 hour, 55 minutes, and 31 seconds. I'm getting a vague view of this magnitude 14 galaxy in poor sky position, so marginal seeing this evening, maybe 4 stars overhead. NGC731 is a galaxy in Cetus. It's also known as NGC757. Its magnitude 12.1, brightish, 1.7 by 1.7, elliptical of class 0, so a perfectly spherical galaxy. Basically, a version of a giant globular cluster. It's at minus 9 degrees and quite present on the screen, although we are only seeing its central 30 arc seconds of a brightish core, or so, half arc minute in size, within the 1.7 by 1.7 total area of the galaxy. Here we have a partially obstructed NGC 732 galaxy in Andromeda, magnitude 13.5, 1.4 by 1 arc-minute in size, lenticular spiral, 266 million light years distant, puts it at about 110,000 light years in diameter. We're at plus almost 37 degrees, and because we are progressed to the west, I doubt we're getting much more, well, maybe losing an inch in aperture. Not too bad, actually. NGC 733, a galaxy in Triangulum, could be a specious entry. No other information other than its apparent size is 0.6 by 0.3 arc minutes. We're at plus 33 degrees, and we might be getting a minor amount of obstruction of the lens, although it doesn't look too bad at this point. NGC 734 is a galaxy in Cetus at minus 17 and change degrees. It's magnitude 16, so probably out of range. 0.7 by 0.4 arc minutes. It's a spiral with a bar of the lenticular class and a lowercase a. That may be the class of stars. I'm trying to remember that. A-type stars, OBA. So kind of the bluish stars are the most stars in the galaxy. 537 million light years distant, puts it at about 110,000 light years in diameter. Doubt we're getting any kind of view on the screen, but we'll check it out mañana. NGC 735 is a galaxy in Triangulum. Might be partially obstructed, where its magnitude 13.3 suboblate 1.8 by 0.8 arc-minute spiral with a lowercase b, which also may be a predominant stellar type, which would be a bluish-white, high-intensity type of stars, 214 million light years distant. We're at plus 34 and change degrees in declination. There's a galaxy there. I'm seeing something quite faint right there at the tip of my finger. Couldn't be sure about it. It could be several up there at this point, but things do look a little elongated. But there are apparently several galaxies. Probably the one that's closer to where we expect to find it is located there. Probability was that is a galaxy group. This is NGC 736, galaxy in Triangulum, magnitude 12.1, so brightish but rather large and face on, 1.7 by 1.6 arc minutes. So it probably has about an average surface brightness of 13.5. Spiral of the lenticular class, 199 million light years distant. We're at plus 33 degrees. And I'm seeing all kinds of speckling on the screen. Ice crystals, but at least the stars are nice and sharp. And the galaxy, there's a galaxy there that's poking through quite nicely. Maybe that is the part of the screen we should be looking at. NGC 738, a smaller, fainter neighbor to the previous galaxy. I believe was 736, so I can't be sure. I've already dumped that out of my memory. It's a galaxy in triangular, magnitude 15.5, smallish, 0.4 by 0.2 arc minutes. Lenticular spiral class O, 203 million light years distant. We're at plus 33 and change degrees, and yes, there are some galaxies on the screen, and there's a faintly right about there, another one between that brighter galaxy, a satellite galaxy perhaps. So there is a view of galaxies. Whether any of them is NGC738, we'll have to check out tomorrow. Oh, and an edge on right there. How about that? A few ticks from NGC738 is 739, another galaxy in triangulum. Magnitude 13.9, so brighter, but half an arc minute face on, spiral with a lowercase a, which would be OBA, fine girl, kiss me right now. If that is actually the predominant stellar type, it's a bluish, whitish star, 204 million light years distant. We're at 33 and change degrees in northern declination. Another few ticks of the stepper motors brings us to NGC 740, another galaxy in triangular, magnitude 14. This one's more edgy on, 1.4 by 0.3 arc minutes, so 4:1 aspect ratio plus, spiral with a bar and a lowercase b, 211 million light years distant. We are at plus 33 degrees with right ascension, 156.54. So yeah, we have definitely found a nice region rich in smallish, faintish galaxies. NGC 740. NGC 741 is a galaxy in Pisces, plus 5.5 degrees in declination, brightish and largish. 11.1 magnitude, 3 by 3 arc minutes in elliptical class 1, 248 million light years distant. Means this one's probably close to 200,000 light years across, and as an elliptical, that's impressive. We're at plus 5.5 degrees in declination. The view of the galaxy is quite decent. We're at, and I said, not too bad for being that far south. Sky has definitely improved in the course of the evening. NGC 742 is clearly a neighbor galaxy to 741 in Pisces. Fainter, magnitude 14.3, smaller, 0.2 by 0.2 arc minutes. An elliptical of zero class, face on, spherical, elliptical. You would see it as a sphere from every possible direction. 255 million light years distant. That's quite small, probably maybe 30,000 light years in diameter, but that would be huge for a globular cluster. We're at 5.5 degrees in declination, and you can see it quite readily on the screen near its neighbor. Well, we're getting some serious obstruction of the aperture of the scope because we're at almost 45 degrees north declination, and had we caught this earlier in the evening while looking west, we probably would have gotten most of the lens on it. NGC 746 is a galaxy in Andromeda, magnitude 13, 1.9 by 1.3 arc minute, apparent size irregular galaxy, a mere 35 million light years distant, so we're not talking very large here, maybe 20,000 light years in diameter, at almost 45 degrees in declination, and really very little to nothing of a view on the screen due to obstruction of aperture. NGC 747 at Boeing, classy commercial transport of old. It's a galaxy in Cetus, magnitude 14.8, perfectly oblate, 1 by 0.5 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase b, 239 million light years distant. We're at minus 9.5 degrees, and we have yet to break 2 degrees in our 2 hour in terms of right ascension. However, the galaxy is quite present for all to see. At magnitude 14.8, this is a pretty decent sky, and it has definitely improved considerably. NGC 748 is a brightish galaxy in Cetus, magnitude 12.6, 2.3 by 1.1, spiral with a lowercase b and a ring. So look for it. It's 237 million light years distant, which puts it at about the size of the Andromeda galaxy. We're at minus 4.5 degrees, so that ring is not likely to turn up. However, you may want to go ahead and go to theskylive.com and see what it might look through look like through a 48-inch Schmidt Cassegrain camera. What you are seeing here is the light glistening off the garage roof, and that roof is covered with snow. Otherwise, we might get a look at NGC749. I'll give you the data on it anyway. It's a Galaxy in Fornax. Magnitude 12.5, 1.9 by 1.4 arc minute spiral with a bar, lenticular class with A-class stars in it. That's my supposition. 193 million light years distant. We're at minus 30 degrees, and you get to see the effect of ambient light on snow at night. Now I have to give some thought to what we might be able to pull up. Let's see if we can pull up the triangular galaxy, but it could be blocked, and then I'll have to consider other alternatives for a carpe noctem moment. Skipping ahead, I looked up NGC752. It's an open cluster in Andromeda. It's magnitude 5.7, some 50 arc minutes in size, 60 stars, and the brightest of which are magnitude 9. It's a class 3-1, which means the stars are pretty spread out, but they all have similar brightnesses. And that's what you would expect to see. The cluster is 1,500 light years distant, and we're anticipating a future view possibly that we may or may not catch depending upon how far the sidereal clock advances over the next week or so. It's at plus almost 38 degrees in declination. There's our view. Now I'm going to see if we can turn up Messier 33. Well, Messier 33 was back behind a roof try. However, we're making a run at Messier 74. I can't really tell you how much aperture we have on it. We may have about 2 inches of aperture blocked on this. I'm going to let the view develop as I go through the catalog and see if I can come up with something else of interest. Otherwise, this will be our hail and salute. Carpe noctem. Let's see what else we got. Skipping through the catalog right now on the 750 to 799 series, looking for something that may be of interest to anticipate, and we can compare it to other views. I have yet to come up with something other than that open cluster. Oh, here's something interesting. NGC772, magnitude 10.3, 7.5 by 4.3 arc minutes. Let's go to that baby. So okay, with fingers freezing, hands in pockets, gloved hand holding the controller, we're having a look at NGC772, Galaxy in Aries. Brightish, magnitude 10.3, which puts it in the 100 to 150 galaxies visible from Earth in terms of their brightness. It's large, 7.5 by 4.3 arc minutes. Spiral with a lowercase b. 110 million light years distant. It's at plus 19 degrees, so the sky position isn't bad. We're just shy of 2 hours of right ascension at 1:59:19. We will hopefully get another view of this sub-football shaped galaxy, NGC 772, and the next outing. And I will keep in mind to try to recover some of the galaxies not properly imaged due to ill focus and bad seeing conditions in the 650 series. So with that, I'm about to say, okay, let's hear it, chorus. Carpe noctem.